has become increasingly popular in recent years, and for good reason. Not only does it offer a unique and affordable way to decorate your home, but it also allows you to find one-of-a-kind pieces that add personality and charm to your space. And if you are new to the world of thrifting or a seasoned professional, stick around because I have 20 different thrifting tips to help you make the most of your excursions when you're going to those thrift stores. So grab your shopping bag and get ready to embark on a thrifting adventure.
It all just goes away. The things I plan to say. Oh baby.
Hello my crafting friends. It's me, Lisa, the DIY Diva. And in today's video, I wanted to share 20 different thrifting tips, things to think about before you go to the thrift store. And I'm sure a lot of you know that you can find some fantastic deals and some pretty great treasures at the thrift store. But before we dive in, don't forget to hit the like button and then hit that subscribe button. And if you don't want to miss any of my new videos, go ahead and click that bell notification. That way you'll be alerted every time I have a new video coming out. So how about we dive in with 20 different thrift store shopping tips that you can use on your next outing. Now, first and foremost, the number one tip that I can give you is if you're looking to decorate your home, you really need to check out the thrift store. A lot of times you can find name brand items like Pottery Barn, Anthropologie, even McGee and Company. You can find those things at the thrift store and you can get them for a much better price. First and foremost, set a budget for yourself. While thrifting is known for being budget friendly, it's still important to have a clear idea of how much money you're willing to spend. This will help you to prioritize your purchases and prevent impulse buying. Next, it's really important to familiarize yourself with the discount codes and things for whichever particular thrift store that you're going to. For example, Goodwill stores have different color tags, and I believe that's because that's when they got the merchandise in. Well, after that merchandise has been there for a while, a lot of times you can find that the price has been marked down 40 or even 50% because they're trying to get rid of it. So as an example, you can go in and they'll tell you which tags are on special for the day. They also have different discounts for senior citizens, first responders, teachers, things like that. And a side tip to that is to know when those discount days are. So you want to try and stay away from the days like Senior's Day or any day that's going to potentially bring in more shoppers. It's more fun to shop in the thrift store when it's not cram-packed full of people. Which leads me to the next tip, which is to shop on the off days. So a lot of times people will go to the thrift stores on Saturdays and Sundays because they're off from work. But if you go to the thrift store on the off days, there's going to be less people and the chance of you finding some really great deals is probably going to increase. Now, another helpful tip is to bring a measuring tape and a notebook with you. The measuring tape will help you to determine if the piece is going to fit in the space that you want it to, or even if you can fit it into your car or your vehicle to get it to your home. And a notebook is helpful to jot down measurements. So even if you're not going to be buying that piece today, you can jot down the measurements of the item and take it home and see if the treasure is going to fit into your space. Another thing I like to do is to take photos of different pieces. That helps me if I'm not quite sure of an item. Then I can think about it and decide if this is something I really want to be buying. This is where the notebook comes in handy again because I've jotted down all of the measurements for the piece and I can determine if that's really going to work for me or if it's going to end up in my garage waiting to go back to the thrift store. Another tip is don't be afraid to think outside of the box. Just because something has an original purpose doesn't mean you necessarily need to use it like that. Put your thinking cap on and get a little creative with the things that you're finding in the thrift store. For example, I like to go in and just look around. There's a lot of times I've picked up things I'm going, what can I do with that? How can I make that over? If you just think about it and get a little bit creative, you can have some really unique pieces for your home. One thing that's really important to remember at the thrift store is learning to be patient. Thrift stores can be overwhelming with the racks and shelves filled to the brim with items. It's easy to get discouraged if you feel overwhelmed by the sheer volume of all of your choices. However, finding the perfect pieces often requires time and perseverance. Now, I should have said this in the beginning, but I didn't. One thing to keep in mind when you're getting ready to go thrift store shopping is to dress comfortably. You want to be prepared to take your time and really look through everything that the store has to offer. But if you're wearing shoes that aren't comfortable or your clothing is too tight, you're going to be uncomfortable, and that is going to affect your shopping experience. So I would highly encourage you to wear really comfy clothes and a really good pair of shoes that you can stand to walk around in for a while. Now, when you're getting ready to embark on your thrifting, keep in mind the neighborhood where your thrift stores are. So if you're looking for furniture and things like that, you may want to focus on an area where there might be a college or a large student population, because they're probably going to have a lot of different choices as it comes to furniture. Now, if you're looking for more higher end clothing pieces and stuff like that, consider the neighborhoods that you're shopping in. You may want to find a thrift store in a higher income neighborhood. Not judging, but from my own personal experience, I found some really great clothing pieces in higher income neighborhoods. Now, when you find that piece that's just, this is what you've been searching for, you've been waiting for it, hold on, don't get too excited. Make sure you inspect everything before you're deciding that you really want to buy that item. So if you're buying clothing, make sure everything is stitched really tight, there's no missing buttons, the zippers work. And if you're looking for a certain type of home decor piece and you want to use it just like it is, make sure that it's in good shape before you buy it. Now, that rule kind of goes out the window if it's something that you're going to be repurposing, because sometimes you can find a really nice pot or a really nice piece, but it's missing part of it. But that's all right, because you're going to be making it better when you get it home. Now, don't limit yourself just to one thrift store. There are lots of different thrift stores out there. There's Goodwill, Salvation Army, the ARC thrift stores. Those are just some of the ones that are in my area. And if you don't have a lot of thrift stores in your area, you can also find thrifting places online. There's places online where you can shop like Poshmark or ThredUp, different places like that that specialize in clothing where people get to sell their items themselves. Now, eBay might be a good place too, but you have to be careful because a lot of times people are going to the thrift stores and they're finding things to resell on sites like eBay. But I have found some really great things by going to shopgoodwill.com, and there's also goodwillfinds.com. The shopgoodwill.com, that is a really fun site to buy different lots of things. I actually bought a box of watches one time, and there was a Rolex watch inside the box of watches. Yeah, you never know what you're gonna find, so sometimes it's fun just to get things like that. So if you're looking for an unexpected surprise or possibly looking into reselling some items, you can get big lots that are usually sold by the weight, not necessarily what's inside. The only downside to that is you don't get to inspect it because a lot of the lots are coming from different Goodwill stores across the United States, but it is kind of fun. Now, when you find one of your favorite thrift stores to go to, you want to visit it regularly. As an example, there's a Goodwill that's really close to where I work my 9-to-5 job. So a lot of times I'll use my lunch break and I'll go over there and just look for some treasures. Now, I know that kind of defeats the purpose of I'm limiting myself on the time, but I do visit that store regularly and I'm always able to find a treasure or two every time I go. And when you're in these stores, don't forget about the small items. There's a lot of really good items that you can find. You just have to take the time to look for them, which leads me to a really big tip. Make sure you look at the bottom shelf and look clear in the back, because sometimes some of the best things can be pushed way far back because nobody wants to get down to that level and look for the items. You can find some really great things that way. And don't be married to the idea of you're shopping for this season. A lot of times people donate things at the end of a season. So for example, Christmas just ended not too long ago. So you might be able to find some really great items for your decorating for next Christmas. It can also be really helpful to know your style and what kind of pieces that you're looking for if you're thinking home decor. So if you're thinking farmhouse, you want to do natural things, lots of grays, whites, wood, different items like that. Boho, you're probably going to be looking for more vibrant textures, or macrame type items. You might even be able to find macrame cord or different crafting supplies that you can use to DIY some decor for your boho style. Which leads me to the next tip, and thrift stores are a fantastic place to look for decor items. But don't just look at things that you know that that's a decor piece. Think of things like drapes, blankets, different textiles. Sometimes you can even find some really nice area rugs. But if you're looking at drapes and textiles for a different purpose, you could find some drapery material and turn it into some throw pillows, or you might be able to find a really pretty scarf and use that as a table runner. And like I said earlier, don't overlook something just because it needs a little bit of TLC. Remember what I said about walking up and down the aisles, picking something up because it piques your interest, and thinking, how could you redo that? Is there a way that you could repurpose that for your own decorating? I bet there is. Another tip is don't limit yourself just to one area of the store. Just because you're going in and you're looking for some decor pieces doesn't mean that you can't look at the blouses or even the children's area or the men's area. You never know what you'll find until you start looking. One of my favorite places to spend a little bit of time is in the book section. I've been able to find some really unique books in the local Goodwill that I go to. I also always find children's books, which I give to my granddaughter. And if you're going to be doing some different DIY crafting with books, the books at thrift stores are very affordable. Thrift store shopping is great because it does save you a lot of money and it allows you to make your dollars go further. Another benefit to shopping at the thrift store is that you're reducing waste that can potentially go into landfills. Now, talking just about clothing, did you know that over 32 billion garments, so 32 pieces of clothing, are produced every single year? That's a lot of clothing. That's a lot of clothing that's being made. And out of those 32 billion pieces that are made every year, 64% of it ends up in a landfill. So if you're thrifting and shopping secondhand, you're actually doing a lot to help the environment and saving our landfills from all of those materials going into them. I can't even remember the last time that I paid full price for a piece of clothing. I think right now the entire outfit that I have on, I've gotten at a thrift store. Now, one thing that I would caution you with, there are a lot of people that shop at the thrift stores and they do reselling. Now, if you're thinking you might want to start a reselling business for things that you bought at the thrift store or garage sales or estate sales, just really make sure that that is something that you really want to do. Otherwise, you risk having all of that stuff just sitting in your basement or in a closet and just taking up space. One thing I like to do before I go thrift store shopping is I go through my own closet, and if there's things that I haven't worn, I will package them up and take them with me to the thrift store. Some stores, if you make a donation, they'll give you a coupon that you can use on your next purchase at the store. That is pretty cool. And some thrift stores will give you a donation receipt so that you can use that on your taxes at the end of the year. So another way to save money. But for me personally, my biggest draw to the thrift store is some of the different decor pieces that I can find to not only use in my own decorating, but things that I can turn into something really cool and repurpose. I really like repurposing and thrifting and basically turning trash into treasure. You never know what you're going to find at a thrift store, so I encourage you, go check it out. It's a lot of fun. You can save some money and you can get some really great items that you can use in future projects. I've made lots of my DIY projects using things that I've gotten from thrift stores, which I really think you should check out. So go check out those other videos and I'll see you in the next video.